Hey guys, welcome back to another tutorial. Today we're going to be turning this bass that we designed into a drop that sounds like this.
Phone me just 'cause you got my number. What the f? What the f?
Alright, so I'm just going to open up a Serum here. Put this on basic shapes, change it to something random. Turn on both oscillators, drop the level of oscillator B to 0 because we're going to modulate the FM for oscillator A from B. So we'll change oscillator A to FM from B. Bet you've never seen that before. Also, just draw out a note, say on D3 here. Also going to turn on this sub and drop it an octave. And put this LFO. For a long sustain, I can't do this. You can double click and add, different notches to make the LFO sound different. I'm just going to drag this onto the level, pop it all the way down to 0, slide that up to 100. I'm going to do the same with the sub and change this to an envelope on LFO 1. Now, if we start dragging FM from B, you're going to get this. That's somewhat of a sustain. Also, take the random. I like to take the random off when I'm doing basses that are going to be quite a consistent sound. I take the random phase all the way down to 0 on both oscillators. Now we have this kind of a sub here. Let's keep this on default just for the sake of it. And I'm going to change oscillator B. I'm going to go down here and change this to sync. Now, when you increase this, what it does, I don't actually know what sync means. Every time if you want a high pitch sort of sustain, I always chuck it on sync, but I always use no window because it has less damping on the sides. From here, you could play around with the wavetables and try and find something different, but what we're going to do is go to the filter. We'll pass this filter on there. Put this on the cutoff. So I have it sitting at about 715 Hertz there, and I put the LFO, this filter cutoff, LFO 1 to about 18. But once we've got all this, let's go to the effects, make it a bit wider, put some distortion on. I always go to diode 1. I'm going to chuck the compressor on here, change this to a multi-band. Now, what having the sub on does, if you do direct out, it's not going to include any of the effects. So I take that off, even though it might ruin the sort of the fundamental of your sub, like the fundamental frequency, because you can always add in a bottom layer sub later on. You get really cool distortion when you kind of have your sub playing through all these effects. Because if you turn it off, you can hear it's kind of boring. Add a filter on here. I'm going to put a comb filter on this. From here, you can change oscillator B. Because it's quite a basic sound. Obviously, it's just a saw wave. We'll go distorted C2. Drop the sync a bit because that's too crazy. When you play around with this sync, you can get really different sounds. Then you kind of have an idea of what to modulate. So I'm going to put this on the sync and go to about where we had it. Then we can play around with the FM again. Alright, now that we have this sound, let's go ahead and route it to a mixer track. If you want to have a really distorted, crunchy sound, you don't want to cut the lows before you run the effects chain. You want to run the effects on it, absolutely destroy the sound, and then cut them out at the end for the sake of maintaining the dynamics in your track. We'll cut the lows to 90 Hertz. Disperser is always crazy. We're playing it in note D, so what I'm going to do is put the pinch up and drag it to, let's say, D6. Hold down save preset and just drag it to the next slot, and what it does is it just copies everything, and then you can put it a frequency lower the pinch. Let's add some distortion. I use Kilohertz distortion, which is free, by the way. Let's add some fruity reverb to it. Put the low cut up, drop the bass so it's not too muddy. Might do now is add a cheeky OTT, move it to the top, and we'll put some saturation on. Nice. Okay, what I'm going to do now is clone this Serum patch and take it to a new mixer track. Knock off these, take the effects off. I'm going to leave the distortion on there. Take the compressor off, leave the distortion. Change the LFO of the sub to kind of match that of your sustain, because then you don't have it sounding off like this. So you have a sub kind of plays at a different time, so raise it a bit. like that. Maybe increase the volume a bit. Grab some drums. I'm gonna increase the speed. I'm gonna change the sound again, maybe lower the sync a bit just to see how it sounds. Yeah, that's sick. See, that's a bit lower on the sync now. So what I've done is just put the triplet at the front. And then we're gonna automate the pitch. So we have that, and if we give that a listen, it'll go. So you've already got some idea of like how the job's kind of going to play out. The good thing about creating a bass preset is now you can drag in like a bass loop from, you know, just for the sake of time, a sample pack. That's pretty sick. Maybe pitch it down. Even on percussion sounds. That's pretty sick. That's almost like you could put it on a gun. Just dropped it an octave. I'm just going to layer it. Now I'm just going to copy the pattern from the sustain and add it to the sub we made. And then I think what we'll do is we'll make the sub on the same pitch bend as that bass. Now I'm just going to make a sidechain channel. Go to any track, rename it to sidechain. Pretty balanced. There it is. And boom. So now we can put it on our kick and our snares. I need to route whatever sounds are playing to my sidechain track. So my bass, my sub. Half step here, and then. So I think I used this build up in the last tutorial, but it will do. Just going to use some random acapella. Once you've found the kind of filler spots, you know, you add your vocals in, add your chants. What I've done here is put a endless smile on the main bass track here. It's a bit lazy because, you know, it makes it sound really full, but then I just split the same vocal up, and yeah, it's kind of it's very simple, and it's only, you know, an 8-bar drop. But, you know, hopefully this has been able to show you what you can do with one single sustain. You know, start with the Serum patch and then just go from there. What I'm doing now is just going to add a little fake out at the end here. So after adding a few more effects and a couple more automations, I ended up with the drop that sounded like this.
Phone me just 'cause you got my number. What the f? What the f?
So hopefully, since the start of this tutorial, you're able to see how you can make just a simple Serum patch, turn it into a drop kind of like this. I think the main thing is just not to hesitate on using certain sounds or different techniques. Like, we threw this mix rack together in 5-10 minutes. It's really random, but it works. Without it, it sounds kind of bland and boring.
Phone me just 'cause you got my number.
Yeah, there's really no character to the sounds at all. But just going off our ear, and you can even pull up some reference tracks, you know, from your favorite artists and see if there's any sounds that you kind of want to replicate. The more you practice it, the better you get at it. If you found this tutorial useful in any way, please don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll be uploading tutorials like this on a weekly basis, and hopefully in the future we'll be able to upload a couple more times a week. If you found this useful and you think a friend might find it useful too, feel free to share with them. But as always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.